Hi, everyone. You're very welcome to this evening's webinar. We're just going to take a second to let everyone arrive, and then I'll get started. Okay. Perfect. Well, I'll get started because what we want to do is hear from our two speakers rather than looking at me. My name is Thomas Emmett. I'm the Vice President in Europe for the Next Generation Board for European Historic Houses. I'm also the Next Gen Governor in Ireland, and I work for Historic Houses of Ireland. You're very welcome to our Inside NextGen which this we do this as a quarterly webinar series to teach next gen and those interested in different topics around their estates and different ways of opening an estate to the public, but also allowing it to wash its face. So this is our June webinar, or this is our May webinar, and it is on holiday accommodation. So we have two fantastic speakers today. First, we have Alexandra Crichton from Mooney Estate in Scotland, and then Anne Bolkesjø from Bolkesjø Guard in Norway. So what we'll do is we'll hear from the two speakers, and then there's a Q&A session. So if you want to post questions into the chat box, please do. Or if you want to ask them ask them in person, then you can put up your hand when we get to the Q&A part. But now I will hand over to Alexandra.
I'm just going to share my screen. So I'm from Mini Estate in Perthshire. So if any of you attended the conference recently, we're about 30 minutes away by car from there. And I'm just going to do a quick presentation on how we created visitor accommodation and why we did it. So we moved to Mini in 2014. My mother-in-law is very much firmly staying in the castle, so we put all our time and effort into the surrounding businesses and the properties. My background is in tourism. I used to work for Visit Britain. I was based in New York City for 10 years working for Visit Britain. So I said to my husband, let's go into tourism. It's something I know. And we felt that it was a good way of renovating a lot of derelict properties that we had. So we started with one holiday cottages in about 2015, and everything that we made from that particular property, we reinvested it back into the other properties on the estate. So in the last 12 years, we've pretty much transformed 15 derelict cottages, not all of them derelict, but pretty in poor condition, into 5 thriving self-catering cottages, 5 staff homes, and 5 long-term rentals. We continued working with our farm, producing beef and lamb, and we've revitalised a company that David's father set up in the 70s, a joinery, which has enabled us to do the cottages up really lovely. We've also got a hydroelectric plant, which was installed in the 50s, which powers the whole estate, but also gave us the opportunity to use some of the energy. So it enabled us to install like a hot tub without costing the earth. So our holiday cottages. So this is where we started, very much with buildings in very poor condition. And then we've created, this was originally a 2-bedroom cottage. We turned it into 1 bedroom. The gatehouse, which we really pen as the kind of mini castle, which is particularly popular with Americans. This was originally the hydro station you can see in the front of it, and we turned it into a 5-bedroom kind of all-ensuite house, so that in the lower seasons, the off seasons, we could turn it into a B&B, so we could always have some money coming in. The Gardener's Cottage has been particularly successful, and we've just renovated that one for the second time. Bray Cottage was a teeny tiny cottage up on the hill, and it was perfect for kind of honeymoon couples, and that's the one with the hot tub. And Quirky, we put a record player in it, so it's particularly popular. So just to give you a bit of a case study with Bray Cottage, this is how it was to start with. It was built in the 1930s for a farm worker, and it was originally renting out for £150 a month. The tenant was pretty much doing up cars. It was just a junkyard when he left. So we did it up at a cost of about £60,000 to renovate, again using the profits that we'd made from Gardener's Cottage, and it sees a turnover of about £50,000 a year. It's a reliable income that comes in right through the year because it's particularly popular in the winter months all through. We get a lot of repeat visitors, so we get a lot of people who come for their wedding anniversary every year. And you can just see the cottage inside. This is the one that's got the record player. And so our strategy really is renovate the properties to a high standard, using the profits to plough back into the next project. So spend on what matters most to the guests. So we really invested in quality handmade beds and bedding. I'm quite passionate about using wool, so we have wool duvets, high quality bedding and things like that. Also wanted to not be like a lot of other local properties, so we didn't want IKEA furniture. We wanted the furniture to be kind of vintage, antique, and unique to each cottage. And also we took time choosing fabrics for soft furnishings, and also paintings, and even things like the chinaware. We used a lot of vintage, really beautiful British kind of makes that often I found in charity shops, but just made it a bit different and unique. And then the most important thing for us and for our success has been to market the stay as an experience of Mani. So being on an estate is not just a holiday let. So guests very much get to enjoy living on a working estate. The lush gardens and designed landscape of the castle make each cottage feel special. We've made a real effort to make guests feel welcome, and I started making brownies for guests 10 years ago, and they're in all the reviews, so we've had to keep continuing making brownies so people get brownies and wine and fresh flowers, which are really popular. And I think the thing that they love the most is the private castle tours and really making ourselves available to meet people, which they feel special, and they're more interested in speaking to us than seeing the castle, I think, most of the time. But it's nice, and it just we've kind of made lifelong friends with people like this, and it's great. So yeah, explaining what we're doing, how we're making the estate sustainable, and the history of it. We have been a film location. We just had a small section of Outlander, but we've really made the most of this in our marketing, particularly on Airbnb, saying that we're an Outlander location. Another really important thing is marketing and PR. We rebranded and redid our website during COVID. We finally had a break, so we did it then. We do social media. I don't think it's our strongest thing, but I'm always amazed how many people come through that. And I have Americans who followed us for years, and then they'll pop up and just say how much they enjoy our feed. Most of it is me walking the dog, but they still seem to enjoy that. We've also really utilised all the platforms, Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, and Cruise Stays in particular. I do charge extra, so people pay at least 20% more if they book on these platforms to cover the costs of their commission. But quite often we've had people they'll come through Airbnb and they'll book time and time again after that. So it's a really, important tool for us. The other thing I talked about working in tourism. I actually before I met my husband, I set up a PR agency specialising in tourism and lifestyle, which has been really helpful for us. And because I still run the agency, most of our clients, Thomas was asking me, I was in Italy last week taking a group of, I had the Financial Times, the Times and the Independent on a tour of Italy for one of our clients. But it's really helpful in helping us push our product. So regular coverage in national and international newspapers as a result of press requests, pitches and press trips. And you can see just a small sample of some of the things that we featured in. And then we've had some bigger features in the Times, the Daily Mail, some of the international magazines, which also is quite helpful because it doesn't cost us anything other than hosting a journalist. So if you get offered to do this, definitely do it. So if we can do it, you definitely can. I would say one of the most important things for me when we first came back to Mini was to improve our PR within the local community. And we've worked hard to make sure that we still provide affordable housing, but also making sure our guests use the facilities in town and the shops in town. We've got discounts with some local restaurants and shops. We work with one of the local schools, Ardrek. They have a lot of international students who come and board for a term while they're learning English. So we try and encourage their parents to stay with us. And then bootstrapping, so avoiding costly loans by reinvesting the profits from one cottage into the next project. Utilising marketing and PR, definitely hire a good agency. I'm happy to chat afterwards. And ultimately preserving our estates for future generations, leaving them in a better position than when we took over. And as J.K. Rowling said, it's one of the most hauntingly beautiful places in the world. The history is fascinating, the men are handsome, and the whiskey is delicious. So I encourage you to come visit us, and I've even got a discount code for you if you'd like to come. And that's my presentation.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Alexandra. That's brilliant. So I will cut, there will be Q&A at the end, but J.K. Rowling was talking specifically about Mini or
No, it's about the whole of Scotland.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And next we'll come to Anne Bolkesjø, who's going to talk about Bolkesjø Guard.
Yes, let's see if I'm able to share. I think maybe you have to unshare first, Alexandra. Yes. Or like that, maybe?
Brilliant. We can see it.
Very good. My name is Anne. And 10 years ago, I took over this family farm in Telemark, Norway. Many of you guys are representing amazing places across Europe, but this is simply my little corner of the world. 10 years ago, I was living and working in Oslo, doing career in totally different fields. So unlike Alexandra, I don't have a background in tourism. But of course, I love to travel and I love everything about it. After some years, I decided to focus full time on developing this farm in the middle of nowhere. It's basically a small village with 40 people living here, but it's only an hour and a half from Oslo, so it's very easy also. So welcome. And today I run Bolkesjø Gård, and I'm trying to build a small owner-led hospitality concept based on cultural heritage, nature, and personal hosting. 2025 was the first full year that I didn't have any other job next to it. And so far, this crazy idea seemed to be working, and I love it. And here you can see my family. This is my partner, Ole Henrik, and our two kids. It's Maria and Ingrid, at 2 and 4. So we have been quite busy lately.
And I think it's only showing the first slide.
There
we go. Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. And this farm has been in our family since the 1500s at least. And today we live here in the one house, me and my family, and my parents in another one. It's more than 20 timber buildings in total, and most of them are more than 100 years old. Our jewel is one of Norway's oldest residential buildings from the 13th century, which also means that it's one of the oldest wooden homes in the world. They are also in Japan, in the Faroe Islands. There are rather old wooden buildings. And we also have our own natural reserve in the forest. And my main passion about this is actually being from a small family, and it's only us that knows the story of this place, and nobody else is going to tell it if we don't. So I just love sharing all the buildings and all the stories with others. And today we have 6 small accommodation units. And from high standard, it's by now we only have 1 high standard, and the rest is slowly and steadily getting better and better. But all of them are telling a story on their own. And I know that I only succeed when guests are leaving not just happy, but also with a connection to our place. And they want to come back and they want to tell other people about us. So here you can see a little bit from Årestua. No, here, yes. Which is one of the oldest, the building from the 13th century. We were able to build an extension building with so now it has high standards and all the facilities that you need. And I also want to show this one, which is Crafter's Farm, misspelled there, but it says farm, which is by a lake nearby of 5 small wooden cottages where you can rent the whole place together and have your it's a space for 5 people, no, up to 12 people, and it also has a small wood-fired sauna by the lake. But my experience also is that what people today are actually seeking is also connection over comfort. They want to do something different. They want to experience something else. And as Alexandra said, it feels like the human connection is just as important as the rest of the experience. That the way that we all represent historic houses, it's also we represent the history and we represent something totally new for them. So for me, that's been very nice experience to meet all these people who are actually interested in who we are and what we do. Yes, and really, the history is not the backdrop. The people are not the service, but we are both a product. It's just to actually see that. I think it took me some time trying to make things easy with the lockbox and things like that, but it's not really what my guests want. They want something else. And we also have a slow start. I was doing some cottage rental, cabin rental early, right after I took over the farm. And it's not the standard that I want it to be, but things has to develop and you have to see what the clients want and you have to be brave enough not to be perfect. It's to actually figure out where you should put your money and what's worth it and what's not worth it. It's you can listen to others and but I think it's very useful to actually make your own experiences about that. And of course, to renovate the historic houses also takes some time. So it's kind of a fit. Yeah, and also, of course, that it has to be right for the whole family. Now, as I said, we are three generations living here. And with the small kids also, it couldn't move too fast. And with my parents, I think also it was good for all of us to mature into having guests. Because we had guests on our farm before, but that's 75 years ago. So it was definitely something new. But of course, the most difficult thing is being found. We have, if you look at Airbnb now, it's so many options, and we are not on a main tourist route. We are not by the fjords, and we are not in the north with the guaranteed northern light. So it's definitely a hard job getting people to know about us. But we're trying slowly and steadily to build a brand. And of course, I should definitely also use more time on social media. But as of now, I'm trying to focus on taking good care of the guests who are actually here and also working with tour operators. I think that's the most valuable thing for me, to try to make other people want to sell my product. And the fees is also often I can just give them a price and they put their commission on top. So I'm happy and they're happy. And that's also very nice for me, since I'm not at the destination. It's nobody knows that they want to come here, although of course so many people want to. They just don't know it yet. So now we have, and of course also I try to work in all sorts of networks, trying to make friends in the industries and also figure out how it's working and how to be a part of things when things are happening. For example, I was able to be on I'm not a fam trip, I guess what they call it, where they showed off this area, and I was able to have 10 tour operators visiting at the same time, of course for free, and you just do everything you can to keep them happy for the time that they stay here. But that was absolutely worth it. I think 9 out of 10 have been sending me guests ever since. So if you get opportunities like that too, it's just say thank you and do what you can do. So now at least the people who do find us because they want to be here. And of course, we also try to be on all the OTAs like Booking.com and Airbnb and such, just to get the word out there. But I also think that the most important thing is that the guests who are staying with us are happy and can tell their friends about us. And of course, the people around you, as I was mentioning before, family is the most important, and also local partners. What makes experience special these days is also the wining and dining. What the local food and drinks you can offer your guests is definitely an extra. And also other things to experience that maybe you don't get the profit of, but it makes your product is better because you can offer something else from someone else. It's just nice to see your neighbor also earning some money. It's and of course some of the guests also really like to feel like they're giving something back. So we have some who have been very interested in certain parts of history and been digging into that, and that really helps us, and they also feel like it's giving back to us, and that's something very special and definitely making a community kind of feeling. So ship before you're perfect. It's kind of painful, to try to show what you have before you're ready. But I think it's very difficult for most of us to not do it. And you learn so much along the way just having guests. And I'm absolutely sure that I could learn so many things from others' experience too. But I have to make my own mistakes along the way. So this is where we are today, and where we will be in 5 years, I don't know, but we will definitely keep on working. And I know for sure that this month, this is where I picture myself in 2 years, and then next week it might be there, and then maybe it's somewhere in between. So it's definitely a lot of fun, and I love doing it, and it's also a little bit painful with all of the choices that has to be done. But learn, adjust, and repeat. So, and our vision is, this is also something that I didn't know that would be important for me to actually put words on. But now that I have it, it feels very meaningful. That for me, the most important is that this farm is somewhere that is good for us, for our family to be here. And I believe that if it's good for us, then it's also good for our guests to come and visit. And then for everyone else also. So try to slowly, not to sit down and decide now I will figure out my vision, but make it be something that you have in your mind, like where do I want to be. And of course, in Norway, this preservation through use is also something very important. That I truly believe that the old buildings, if they are not used and not loved, they will fall apart in a different way than the ones who are cared for and used. So what I have learned in these 2 years, well, first of all, the stories don't tell themselves. I don't like to be a salesperson, but I love to talk about Bolkesjø and what we do here and what people can experience here. So I can talk about my project and sell without feeling that I'm a salesperson, which also was kind of nice for me to learn. And that guests are my best marketing. And slow is not failure, it's sustainability. And we are all, as owner of historic houses, we are used to thinking long term. So I think this is a good basis for thinking long term also. Yeah, it has to be right for the whole family. That's the third time I said that, so it must be something I really mean. And also say yes to the opportunities that show up. You don't really know which it's sometimes it may not seem that tempting to go into some things, but it can be a opportunity in disguise also. So take some chances. So this is year 2. I'll keep you posted if you like on in a couple of years where I am now. Thank you so much for your time.
Anna, brilliant. Thank you so much. As I said before, if you want to post questions into the box, into the chat box, please do. Or if you want to raise your hand, do. But I have a couple of questions to get us going anyway. So I guess for both of you, how did you you had a kind of selection of cottages, and how did you pick which one was going to be the first one that you looked at for redevelopment?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, whoever wants to jump in, I'm happy.
For us, there was one cottage that was the gardener's cottage was becoming empty. It had a farm worker in it before it, but it was a beautiful cottage. And I just said it doesn't make sense to we need to do this up really nicely and have it as a holiday. It was right next to the castle. It was just a perfect location. So we really did it up on a wing and a prayer. And I made all the curtains. I'd never done anything like that before. And we just made it really beautiful quite quickly. And then slowly people moved out, or we just found, we tried to pick the lowest hanging fruit to start with. So that's how it kind of first started.
Brilliant. And for you, Anna?
Yeah, it was definitely lowest hanging fruits. So definitely not the most beautiful ones, but where I could get some cash flow really in an easy way. And that was also before I started thinking about branding. I just wanted to not let it stand empty.
Sure.
Mm.
In terms of, I realize it differs across Europe, but in terms of the preservation orders on buildings, did that prevent in both Norway and in Scotland, did that prevent you from doing anything that you've wanted to do on a building?
We've been quite lucky. Gardener's Cottage is listed, and so is the East Lodge. So we've had to do some outside renovations, but it didn't really stop us. I think we've always been very much above board and got all the certifications and everything anyway. So when 2 years ago, everything that was a holiday that had to be licensed, then it was quite easy for us to do that because we already had the paperwork. So I would say that if you're doing this, make sure you look into what's needed in terms of, safety certificates, electrical kind of, and smoke detectors and things like that.
Cool.
I would say it was definitely more time consuming to make the government happy with our choices and a lot of documentation, but it didn't stop us. And I think also my experience was that since we wanted to share this place with others and not just keep it for ourselves, they were also more positive.
Brilliant. Thank you. Tibor, you had a question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. First, thank you very much for the presentation. Both of them were very interesting, and so thank you for sharing. I have 2 questions actually. The first one, you both started small with renovating one place, and I was wondering if you could have stayed at just one place. So is it possible to actually have one small place, or does it require to actually grow? Because of my second question that you didn't really talk about was about the cleaning, maybe the breakfast, the organization, you mentioned a bit the keys. I guess that also requires people. And so I was a bit wondering if you can actually stay small or if it requires to actually grow because of the additional cost, and if you can also talk about the additional organizational things that are needed, I assume. Thank you.
Good question.
Shall I go first? I mean, you are required to be hands-on, and it is. I mean, even this weekend, I was in Italy, but there's calls coming in. Someone found bees in a cottage, and someone else couldn't get their code to work. Someone else was worried about their BMW going up the track. So you have to be prepared to be on call, and you also have to be prepared to clean if you haven't got a cleaner on site or you've got multiple houses leaving at the same time. I think we're really lucky that we've got two amazing cleaners that are so reliable. So over the years, I've got really good staff, and we really look after these staff. So they love working with us. I mentioned earlier that we turned our large house, when it's not being used, we have it as a bed and breakfast. And I started off doing elaborate breakfasts with me coming down, and I made all the jams and the granolas, and it was really beautiful breakfast. But then I found that people were working, they didn't want the big breakfast, or they'd been coming in on a weekend, and they said they would be coming down at 9 o'clock, but they didn't come till 10 o'clock. So you were having someone waiting there for 2 or 3 hours. And we just realized that we couldn't, when I've got two children who you saw, they're 7 and 9, and I had a school run to do in the morning, that it was quite difficult. So we switched to doing room only, and I provide a complimentary breakfast that people can help themselves to. So that's really worked for us and made it much easier. I used to meet all the guests. I know Anna said that she meets the guests. I used to meet all the guests, and then during COVID, I found that we couldn't meet people, so I did put lock boxes in all the cottages. But I'm quite open, and I quite often communicate with people, asking them if they want a castle tour. So I do try really hard to meet them, and I find that meeting people is really important, because you almost get them on your side, and they really become part of your story. They leave a really good review, they tell all their friends, they post all about you, and it becomes this story. So for me, meeting them is really important, and I try and make the time to do that. But yeah, staffing is really important. We started with one, but that one enabled us to refurbish. We've still got a few more derelict properties that need to be done, so we keep going. And for us, it's enabled to make the estate survive. It's kept our joinery business going, because we get them to do a lot of the amazing work. So anyway, yeah, a good team, and I would start with one and see how you get on, but be prepared that you need to be around.
Very good answer, I must say. I agree on everything. And I think many people today might have expect that it's easier than it is, because it does take a lot of admin. Even if you try to make very good routines and clear instructions and everything, it's they need someone who is responsible.
But I also think having someone there makes people really respectful. I hear a lot of my neighbours who are not on site. People sometimes trash their cottages. People meet us, they see who we are, and I would say 99% of the time people leave the cottages immaculately, and that's nice too.
Very important part of it.
Yeah, I think to clarify, the reason I was asking about the one is because we have one location where we could do this, and so I was also asking, is it worth the effort? And as you mentioned, it comes with a lot of constraints. So yeah, but thank you very much for the answer.
Yeah, I think that it could definitely be worth it for one, because of course it depends on the price that you get. So if you have my experience is that the right tour operators and someone who really value your product, you can pretty much just name your price, if you have a really good product. So if you are able to do that and get the right connections, it could work. But if your plan is Airbnb, I don't know.
I would say we definitely charge a premium. We're almost double than a lot of the local accommodation. We're not in a honeypot. We're not the same as Anna. We're not in a well-known location. But I would rather have less people, double the price, than back-to-back bookings. And yes, we're really busy in the summer months, but charging that premium and making it that special chance to meet the estate owners, stay in a historical cottage, then we definitely charge a premium.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thanks.
Pilar,
Very interesting.
you had your hand up.
Thank you, Thomas. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you all. Thank you, Alexandra and Anne. Congratulations for your projects. I have two questions for you. The first, have you ever joined any fair in order to display your project and get, let's say, other main, places to show and get more clients? Like fairs, I don't know if it's special traveling, premium traveling, historic traveling, whatever, if you have any examples of that. And then when you're repurposing buildings, if it's a cottage, that means accommodation by default. But when you're repurposing buildings that have been a mill or any other, let's say, industrial purpose, how you make that homey, how you keep the feeling also of the genius of the place that had another purpose in the past. Thank you both.
Shall I go first?
Let's swap to Anna.
Yes,
first.
go Anna, you go first.
Yes. And the first question was it again? I'm sorry.
Do you attend fairs?
Fairs in order to...
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I attended something called the Norwegian Travel. No, it's just Travel Expo, which was a Norwegian travel fair. But it is the biggest one that we have in Norway for private travelers. But also the industry was supposed to be there, and I totally wasted 3 days of my life being there. So it was no use at all. But of course, it's the kind of things you just have to try and see if it's useful or not. And I'm planning to next March, every year there is a large fair where all the tour operators selling trips to Norway are coming, called the Norwegian Travel Workshop. And it costs a lot of money to be there. But I will definitely be there next year, because then I'm ready. I haven't been ready before, but it has to be the right timing also for your product and all your material that you have to take with you and to present your business in the best possible way.
I'll just add that I haven't really attended fairs. I did a lot of those things in my former life, working for Visit Britain. So what I've tended to do instead, I sent invitations to a lot of the local Scottish tour operators with an invite to come and stay in the bed and breakfast and have a tour of the castle. So I got a lot of contacts that way. That was quite helpful. And I paid a really nominal amount for historic houses who are already attending one of the events to do it for me, and then they sent me all the contacts, and I actually still have to follow up. But yeah, so I've done that more than anything else. And in terms of making an industrial building more homely, so we did the mill house. The top 2 floors were already turned into a home. It was the base, the ground floor that was a garage, was used as a kind of shed. For me, it's really important to put lots of books and, just make it homey with books and paintings and really lovely furnishings. I found some fabric factories that have a lot of designer fabrics that you can get really good value. So I managed to get some really beautiful, British design fabrics. And I've done that to make it as homely as possible on a budget.
Brilliant. Thank you, Pilar. One last hand up, which is Stamatina.
Hey. Hello, everybody. I'm in Athens, Greece at the moment. Hopefully I'll see some of you at the General Assembly next week. So my question is, because I missed half of the conversation, is how clear are you about your target market? And I don't mean a tour operator. I mean, who is actually interested in your unique special place? Rumi said, what I want also wants me, is looking for me and attracting me. So I'm wondering, how clear are you about the need, the market that's coming to you?
Anna, you go first.
Well, I know what clients I want, but I also know that I'm not able to fill my beds with those clients yet. So I have a plan and what I'm aiming for, but in the meantime, I also have to work with other groups. So I definitely sat down and did that type of work to concrete which clients I want and what's my main markets and so on. But for me, as in the position I am, it's not so easy to reach them. So step by step.
So so is it a time thing, or is it things that you have to do from your side in order to reach them, which may not or may involve money?
Resources also, very time consuming also, but of course money wise, to make huge advertisement on my own, I think it's not possible to be able to reach the right people. When you see how many times you have to see a brand to recognize it and to actually do the booking, it's very depressing from my side. But it's so for me, I think it's more about building the connections to get me to those markets, find those people who can sell me to those markets who already have the connections.
Okay.
I would say we don't really have a set target market. I would say during the summer months, we have between 70 and 80% overseas visitors to some of the main cottages. But things like the tiny cottage on the hill with a hot tub, we get a real range of people, mostly coming from the nearby cities who want to escape for the weekend. And I don't want to, have one target audience, because it's something that's kept our accommodation open all year round. So we have locals who want to stay in a castle, they'll come and stay in the little turreted gatehouse. And then we have a lot of interested American visitors who want to experience being on an estate. And sometimes we just get people who couldn't get accommodation in Edinburgh because Taylor Swift was on, and they found us by accident, and then they've come back 2 or 3 times every year since. So we don't really have a target audience, and I haven't ever tried to be that way. I have tried to target specific tour operators, but I've always kept it quite open because it meant that we've had a continual stream of bookings right through the year.
Okay. And I have one more question. That is, how happy are you about the revenue that is being generated?
So for us, it's a turnover of about £250,000, which is a lot of money for us compared to some of the other businesses. Our costs are minimal, but we put all that money straight into building, and building is expensive, especially when you're doing historical building. So yeah, we just put it straight back into doing another building. But on a good year, then I think it's a lot compared to some of the other things we could do. And yes, we could go. A lot of our neighbouring estates are installing wind farms and solar panels, but I feel we have a duty to the community who are very against these things. So for us, it's been trying to do something like this is really preserving, what we have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Martina. We've got 2 questions in our chat box. From Crichton, Alexandra, at the beginning, did you consider providing accommodation in the main castle, or was that always?
So my mother-in-law is very firmly ensconced in the castle, and she wouldn't leave. She has actually, for the first time in 12 years, decided that she's 85. She really struggles with her mobility, so she is leaving. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm sure some of you have the similar issues, but she is leaving, and the first thing we're going to do is make the castle has to be commercial because it needs its roof fixed. It needs a new heating system. But yeah, I would love to, but it hasn't been my choice, which is why we put the energy into the rest of the estate. She was happy for us to do the tours, she doesn't live in the main bit that we do the tours. So she was happy for us to do that. It was almost her way of contributing. So yeah, we will do at some point.
Brilliant. And then the other question from Cesar was, both of you mentioned that it was important to have a relationship with small businesses. How did you choose to improve them through your business?
Want to go, Anna?
Yes. Well, if I understood the question correctly, then I just went on a visit and said, hello, I love your products. And should we do something together? especially for the people who make local products that I can serve in terms of food and beverage. And also, of course, when we're building things, we use local builders that are small scale. And it's as long as the prices are reasonable, of course, and things like that. Maybe you have something to add, Alexandra?
Similar. There's an amazing restaurant who I've told them they need PR, so I've helped them with their PR, and they give all of our guests a complimentary glass of sparkling wine if they mention us when they book. So our guests, it's a really great restaurant, so I'm happy to do that. And then there's a local a shop in town that sells really lovely Scottish tartan and knitwear, and they give our guests 10% discounts. So it's just small things like that. And then I really recommend the bakeries. We have quite a thorough guest list. Not a guest list, a guest kind of information sheet with places to eat and drink. Yeah,
and one thing that we actually do in this area too is that we are 6 startup businesses who are in the same line of business that are working in a network, trying to make it easy for the guests to use all of us. So if some of them are coming to the restaurant, they also know that they should let them come here to sleep, and so on, that we all work together. And we have now we actually have meetings every month just to keep each other updated on what's happening.
The only other thing I'll add is that we've done little things with businesses to create a bit of a PR story. Like one bakery school offered discount to all our guests, so we just put out a PR story, and it came up. I think we got got 6 pieces of coverage just about this bakery school that teaching a Scottish baking class. And I'm just about to do one. We have 4 amazing bakeries that have 3 of them that have opened in the last 2 years. And I'm going to do a voucher. You can get a £5 voucher for each bakery if you stay for a week. So I'm just about to do a PR campaign about that. So it's kind of almost creating a story out of not much, but involving kind of local businesses as well.
Brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. I have in terms of the PR, because I don't know how often everyone on this Zoom interacts with their local journalists versus national journalists, but how would you take a story that is appealing to a local, like how do you build your portfolio of journalists, I guess, if you're coming from an amateur background rather than coming from a marketing background, Alexandra?
I think these days you can find so much on AI, so you can find a lot of contacts. Of course, it's my profession, so I have a team and I have a database. I also have press requests. So if you can find I work with the region of Trentino and Brescia in Italy. I work with the Czech Republic. I work with Poland. I work with Gothenburg. So if you've got any of these if any of you are in those areas, then do contact your regional tourist board, because a lot of them have got PR agencies in the UK. And if you've got a good story there, they might be up for helping. The other thing is, if you just keep feeding your information through to these kind of regional or national tourist boards, like we pay for about 4 different press request services. So you saw those little clips I highlighted about the top cottages by the river. I mean, our river is a tiny, what we call a burn. It's a little stream, but we had a good photo. And when a journalist requested, has anyone got cottages by a river? I sent it through because we got the request from the Times newspaper saying, has anyone got cottages? Or someone else sent one saying, has anyone got a cottage like the film In the Holiday? Or have you got red squirrels? So all these requests come in regularly about different things. And all the PRs are frantically trying to answer them. So if there's something special that you have, or special offer even, as journalists, the Times do a special offer, a roundup every week. So there's different easy ways you can get in with them. Or if you see someone that writes things that you like in a newspaper, you can look at most international newspapers online, find the journalist and send them an email. Or find them on LinkedIn and said, I'd love to get you to visit us. Would you be interested? And then, I don't know, if you can work with the National Tourist Board to cover their flights or something, then I don't know. But yes, there is easy ways of doing it.
Brilliant.
Or hire a PR agency, which is, yeah.
That's very good. That's very good advice. Thank you. I just said it. We've got one more question in the chat box, but while I'm thinking of it, in terms of access, did you build for both of you? Did you build entrance ways for people to be able to access the cottages so that they're separate? The kind of public-private divide is something that obviously a lot of next generation owners face, where they want the house to be community facing, but they may want people to be coming in a different way than if they're coming up right past the house in order to get to a cottage. So how did you both manage that access issue, I guess, or maybe perhaps it wasn't an issue for either of you?
For me, it wasn't really a issue because of just the logistics, how it is. But
Yeah.
I definitely see the problem. Or, yeah.
We didn't create separate entrances either. In a way, Scotland's got the right to roam, so people can roam around anyway. But I also like the castle garden. Some of it's fenced off, but I want our guests to have that special kind of access. And we've only got 5 cottages. It's not a huge amount of people, so they do have full access, and that's, for me, that's the privilege they get.
Okay. Brilliant, thank you. And then sorry, Anna.
No. Can I have a question for Alexandra too?
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much difference do you think your hot tub makes? How popular is it?
It is really popular. People come for the hot tub.
Yeah.
We had an issue during COVID where it broke down. We had to get a blow-up hot tub, and people are really upset. They come for the hot tub.
Yeah.
It's a pain. It's a real pain. We empty and refill it for every set of guests. Yeah. So it uses a lot of energy, but because we've got the hydro, it's cost-effective for us. But it brings a lot of people, and it brings a lot of local people. People come from even half an hour away just because that cottage is in the middle of nowhere. The nearest neighbour is a mile. The views are spectacular, and they can sit in the hot tub and watch the stars, and they all write that in their reviews and come back year after year. So yeah, it's made a difference. And I have the other cottage down the hill doesn't have a hot tub and probably makes half the amount it does, even though the cottage is bigger and more beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been in the hot tub. I hate the hot tub. Yeah.
Brilliant. So there's a question from Sophia, which is, have any of you had trouble with guests damaging your properties or valuable items? And how have you had to deal with this?
Actually, I had a situation not that long ago, and it was one of those ceramic tops for cooking with the fan in the middle, and one of the guests broke it. It really was an accident, but it's very costly, of course. And luckily, it was an Airbnb booking, so I used the air coverage that's on Airbnb, and so they had to pay for it. But of course, they were very upset that they actually had to make up for their own damage. So it's not, it happens very rarely. And I have also had, the place with the 5 small cottages. I've had 12 boys of 19 years old staying there. And I've been thinking that, oh my God, will they burn the place down? What's the worst that can happen? How much money will this cost me? But and the next day, everything has been excellent. So like really 98% is no problem.
I think the same, and I think I mentioned earlier about being on site. I think we don't have big parties. People know we're around the corner. So I have had Americans who put an electric kettle on a hob and burnt it, and then tried to get it outside because it was burning, and then melted all they put the plastic into the carpet out to the door. And we lived with it for a while, and I didn't charge them. I'm not very good at charging people for small things. I just feel like it's part and parcel of having these kind of things. I did have one group who were really I felt really disrespectful, and they left the cottage really badly, and the cleaners were so upset. So we have a damage deposit. I think it's £75, a good housekeeping deposit, and I think that does really make people respectful, and they leave it nicely. And I have a larger amount, I think £250 for the larger house. But yeah, I have to say, people are pretty respectful. The worst is they don't read the sign about the septic tanks and clog up the pipes sometimes, and then we're having to deal with that, which isn't much fun. But yeah, mostly I think being on site, they really are very respectful.
Touch wood, that continues.
Yeah, touch wood.
Don't want to jinx it. We'll wrap up in a second. I just have one final question, which is what's the one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's starting out or thinking about it, going into doing up a cottage or looking at holiday accommodation? Is there one bit of advice that you give them?
I'll go first. I think finding someone reliable that can manage the cottage or cottages, so you can go away for a week and they can be on site, because really for us, you need that person to have that break a couple of times a year. So yeah, definitely find someone that's reliable, because we don't really have family, so we had to find someone.
Brilliant, thank you. And Anna?
Oh, I would just say do it, and do it properly. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I love doing it.
Perfect. Thank you so much to Alexandra and Anna for taking part in this webinar. As I said, we do these webinars every 3 months. So our next one will be in September, and we're looking at doing it around kind of social media and your historic house. So I'll be announcing that within the EHH NextGen WhatsApp, and then we'll go from there. But thank you very much to the two of you, and thank you to everyone in the European Historic Houses office for supporting us through this Inside NextGen webinar series. And yeah, thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And feel free to email me if you have any questions.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer anything.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's if we can always send around email addresses if you're comfortable with your email address.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Evening.
Yeah.
And good to see you again, Anna. Since France.
Oh,